guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing this story on the Pendle witches. They also refer to this as Lancashire witches. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, so I'm just going to say Pendle Hill witches. So what's crazy to me is that this story actually takes place before the Salem witch trials, and honestly I've never heard of anything before the Salem witch trials. I honestly thought it started with the Salem witch trials, but those trials began in 1612, and I believe the Salem witch trials took place like in 1692, I think I heard. So that's like years after. But the Pendle Hill witch trials, that took place in England, and what's crazy is that they literally, the court clerk actually documented the whole trial. So it's one of those stories where it's not like rumor has it, it's like actually well documented. So today I'm focusing on two families. I'm going to be reading the names and such because I forget like names and stuff like this, but so there was two rival families, the Demdike family and the Chateau family. Both families had an old matriarch. The Demdike family, their matriarch was Elizabeth Southerns, and the Chateau family, their matriarch was Anne Whittle. So Elizabeth Southerns from the Demdike family, she was actually known as a witch for like 50 years. And I think the term witch really, it was used loosely because during those times, you know, I don't believe there was a lot of doctor, a lot of medicine. So you kind of had to just rely on like the older person in the town that knew more, that knew what herbs that you could take, natural remedies that you can take when you got sick. So like if there's an older person during that time, I feel like a lot of people would go to that person. Like personally, my great grandmother, everyone went to her for food, for medicines, for stories, like because she was the eldest in my street, well, not my street, because she was the eldest in my town. A lot of people went to her. So I think that's what was going on during this time. Just a lot of people went to this older lady, and because she had all these remedies, they just referred to her as a witch. But I don't think she must have been like an actual witch. I think it's just, you know, she knew herbs and a lot of people went to her. And, you know, grandmothers, they show us what their old school remedies to use when you're sick. So I think she passed that down to her daughter and granddaughter and her little family, you know. Now I also want to mention that during this time King James I ruled, and before he even took the throne, he had already had like a misconception about witches, and he wrote a book about demonology, and he just knew so much, you know. So in this time in his book, he wrote instructions and told his readers that they must condemn the witches and prosecute anybody that supported them. So obviously whoever supported, you know, these herbalists, they were also witches too. I'm thinking he didn't believe in herbal tea or herbal medicine or anything like that. So obviously to him, that's all witchery. So they're wrong, and they must be punished if they're using these herbs rather than using your actual doctor who they believed. Okay, so now let's take it back to the family. So the story goes that this lady named Alison Device, I believe she was the granddaughter of the Demdike family. So because she was already, you know, known as a witch, I'm sure her family was known for witchery too. So Alison was going through this road in Trodden Forest, which I'm sure is a forest in England, and she came across this peddler named John Law. So when she came across him, she asked him for some pins. So apparently these pins were used for their witchcraft. You know, I'm not really sure what they used. I'm sure those pins were used for like those little voodoo dolls, I think, during that time. But she had asked him for some pins. I'm not sure if she begged for them or she wanted to pay for them. That's not really known, but he said no. So for whatever reason, she was upset and she cursed him. So what's weird is he ended up having a stroke later on, and Allison heard about this, and she is the one that went to him and she apologized because she believed that she had these witch powers and it caused him to have a stroke, because she did hope that something happened to him, and since he had a stroke, she thought she did it. So she went to apologize to him, and he actually he wasn't even going to accuse her of anything. He probably did not even have her in his mind, but she's the one that physically went and put it out there. So later on, I think it was like 9 days later, so John's family must have convinced him to accuse her of witchery. This is where the whole trial begins. Allison literally confessed to getting these messages from the devil, and that's why she was able to do this. She believed she was able to do this, which is crazy to me, because I feel like if she would have kept her mouth shut, none of this would have happened, because during those trials they did let you provide evidence that you weren't a witch or you were a witch. It wasn't like the Salem trials where you just were accused and all of a sudden killed. Like, they did give you a chance to provide evidence and all sorts, because during this whole trial, I think it was like 11 people were accused, but only one of them, she was able to provide evidence. I don't know what type of evidence, but she was able to provide evidence that she was not a witch, and she was let go. You know, Allison, she kind of threw herself under the bus. And then during that questioning, she also threw her grandma under the bus, because, you know, Old Damn Dyke, that's what they called her, the grandmother, she had already been known as the witch of the town. So Allison accused her grandma too. And then it is also said that she accused that other family that they had like a rivalry against. Who knows what the rivalry was, but I think what was happening is like they were competing like medicinally. I don't know how to say this. They were competing like being like the medicine people in the town, and you know, during that time obviously you can make some money by giving people herbs or whatever and helping them heal, because there was like, just during that time there was like one doctor for many towns. So during that time you could make like probably a little business of little like herbs. Here, like, take these plants for 50 cents. I don't know what the currency was back then, but you know what I mean? So that's why I'm assuming that's why they were rivals. But she ended up accusing the other family, the Chateau family. Some of the members, yeah, they did it too. They're witches too. This family did not have shame in just throwing each other under the bus, because Allison's brother ended up pointing at her too and saying, oh yeah, I seen her with some dolls and she was using them for witchcraft. And he also said that there was another child in the town that she ended up cursing and he died. Like, imagine your own sibling throwing you under the bus like this. Like, I can't imagine this. But I mean, Allison was throwing everybody under the bus too. Then he also said his mom had markings from the devil on her body, which I'm assuming were just regular moles or birthmarks, but he apparently had said that there were markings from the devil, and that made her like go crazy. Now, for the trial, the old lady, Old Damn Dyke, hopefully I'm saying it correctly, Old Damn Dyke, because, you know, she was older. She was already, I think like in her 80s. And during that time, you know, if you're imprisoned, you're going to be put in those like dungeons or whatever. And I'm sure they don't feed you. So she really didn't make it to trial, because she ended up dying before she even made it to trial. But Allison and her mom did make it to trial, and what's crazy is that they used the 9-year-old daughter as a witness to point the finger at her mom and her sister, and she did. I'm not sure what kind of evidence she provided, but she ended up giving evidence that her mom was a witch, which I know it's crazy, but at the same time, they were putting it out there, like Allison, the grandmother, they were putting it out there, like instead of calling themselves healers, they were like going along with people calling them witches. So as a 9-year-old kid, I would assume like, well, yeah, we are witches. What are you talking about? She didn't say we, but she said her mother and her grandmother. And apparently when she did give whatever evidence she gave during the trial, her mom flipped and they had to like pull her out, which of course, like if my own kid was saying all these things about me that is gonna get me killed, obviously I would have flipped too. I don't know if I could handle myself not screaming something at her like, you little. They took this kid's words and that's what they used to try Allison and her mother. I mean, it doesn't help that Allison was literally saying, yes, I did it. Yes, the devil made me do it. Like, come on, girl. Like, you're about to, like, be thrown, like, to the wolves. Like, shut up. But anyways, so the 9-year-old sister, daughter, she actually ended up being accused as an adult. When she was grown a few years later, she ended up being accused by someone and she ended up being killed too, which, I mean, honestly, like, some people were saying it was karma, but to me it's like, hello, she came from a family of known witches, so obviously they would think that anybody that was related to them would be a known witch. I'm thinking that maybe because she was 9 years old at the time, they just probably didn't think that a 9-year-old could do any of these things, so obviously they didn't put her in the trial. But now that she grew, I'm thinking they used that opportunity to go ahead and accuse her as well. So Pendle is now one of the most haunted places in the UK, and people have said that they've seen a woman that could be Allison. People have said that when they walked in those grounds that they get this feeling of anger. There's also been said that a man in green is walking around, and honestly, with all these people that were killed because they were accused of witches, I would assume their souls are trapped there because, you know, the sadness, anger, I believe all of that trapped souls from moving on. So of course now it's haunted. But anyways, I hope you liked today's story. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. If you've been here, thank you very much for continuing to follow me, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Throwing myself in real quick, I completely forgot that I started another channel. It's sort of like a vlog channel where I can make videos that have nothing to do with like paranormal, but just my life or how I feel, anything I want to say. So do follow that channel. It's under Hey It's Val. I'm going to be putting that link in the description. So make sure you follow me there.